Really need to figure out a new intro for the new show, but we just need to do 4 episodes or so, and then I can get some sound bites together. So, welcome everyone to the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast. I am your host, the magnificently handsome, humble genius, Richard Allen. Joining me as always, Kevin.
Yes, yes. You are a very striking young man.
Listen, I'm good at everything except modesty, which I'm great at. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Stick it out there. That's the way I look at it. Stick it out there for everybody to see. It's a numbers game, Richard. You know it, and I know it.
I see that A Space NG is in the chat. She had a very fun last night, let me tell you.
Oh, I? What happened? Did she go out with a vaccinated lad with huge balls?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Well, I heard a story about my cousin's brother's aunt Sarah's dog walker, and
Mhm.
they swell up. They swell up like basketballs. That's it. I mean, as we are both vaccinated, we can say there's 4 big clankers in the room right now.
I'm
There's no,
using mine as a mug rest currently.
yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. No, nobody can ever accuse people from Northern Ireland of not having big balls anyway. So yeah,
Well, they can, but just
well,
not
yeah, no,
twice.
they could, yeah, well, and they, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm kind of thinking, is that, I mean, obviously, if you had sort of elephantitis of that area, that would be very, very uncomfortable. However, I don't think old Nicki Minaj really did herself any favors with that story.
Oh, God, why do you want to bring attention to any of that? Why?
Oh no,
Nicki
no, because
Minaj is a processed plastic princess that was literally manufactured for the pop industry. And
right,
on the other hand, Boris Johnson is a moron who is manufactured to be a moron.
right.
So, in that battle of wits, no matter who wins, we lose. So why do we even want to talk about it?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just glad that if I was from Trinidad and Tobago, I would at this point in time just claim to be Tobagoan and just say, "Oh no, that's Trinidad. That's the other part. Don't worry about us. We've got it all taken care of over here."
A Space Angie telling me to shut up and that Nicki Minaj is gross.
Well, I mean, it's that's probably a matter of opinion. I'm too old to have an opinion on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, it's because if I said, "Well, I don't like her music," that would be because I'm an old man. So that's fine, and she's entitled to say what she wants. But I don't think it helped.
No,
I
she's
really,
not.
I
She's
don't think
not
it.
entitled to say whatever she wants because she's a moron. And
Well,
Boris is a moron. That whole argument was moronic. I just
it
don't know
made
why the internet just hasn't
it
put
made
their head
because
in their hands and just
it
looked the other way.
it made me laugh. I mean, there's a certain point of time where you just look at these things and you think it's just so. Well, it was the thing that was like, it wasn't. It was her brother's cousin's sister's boyfriend's stag night, and he went out and he ended up having some thing. And
Fun.
when you go out in a bachelor night or a stag night, and you end up with some sort of a funny thing that could have happened to your genitalia, why not blame it on vaccination?
Hola, Soflo. Como estas? Yes, and A Space Angie, Nicki Minaj might be gross, but you wouldn't catch her doing the shit you did last night. Anyway,
I I
before
thi-
we.
I I don't know. Were you a party to this?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Oh,
yes. I was at the receiving end, you might say, of Angie's shenanigans last night.
oh, okay. So we'll take it no further then. We'll pull a say nothing on that one.
I'm just gonna make fun of her subtly since Nikki's not here.
Well, Nikki's not here this week, and it's we wish her the best. Not feeling the best, so yeah, we're it's back to me and you and the two banter boys having
The
to come up
Banter
with stuff.
Boys.
That's it, the two banter boys. And basically, I think we should go back and just the best part of the program, according to my wife, is the Nikki sigh. So we should just get the
Definitely gonna soundbite that if I can.
yeah because she just decides at a certain point in time, that's it. I'm not putting up with it anymore.
I'm not listening to these two jackholes anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, from that standpoint, anything new on your end? Anything new in the big north? The
Oh yes, there's plenty of new things happening up here on a daily basis. The end of tourist season draws to a close, and the last of the idiots hiking up Hadrian's Wall.
right,
As they haven't seen any skeins of geese yet. Skeins of geese are the first sign of winter up here. There was a huge flock of swallows outside my window this morning, guessing they're heading back to Africa.
right.
Lucky gits. They don't have to get stopped by customs, or they may if Nigel Farage gets his way.
Were they were were they were they carrying a coconut? That's the thing.
No.
No, the migratory swallow and the coconut joke from Monty Python. There, everybody.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't get that one, but we have you beat because in Washington State, we've had the geese flying over the house, and this morning they were literally, I think, about 20 feet over the house. You could hear everything, the wings beating and everything. It was wonderful. But I think that's it. Temperatures drastically changed in Washington State. It's been so hot all summer, and then it's decided winter started 3 days ago, and that was it. It's rained ever since, and it's gone
What
down.
kind of geese do you get?
Canada geese.
The lamest of all geese.
They're not Canadian geese; they're Canada geese. Just in case.
Can't trust a country that's half French, Kevin. And its geese are absolute proof of that.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. You know how there's videos of a certain person from Ontario talking to a Sasquatch. You think that if they were in Quebec, it would have said
Sasquatch, Quebec.
Yes.
Bonjour, le grande foot. Je suis un poisson.
Yes, Michel. I was just wondering if that was true. Although I will say Quebec is a lovely place, and especially Montreal. I love Montreal. I'm never going to have anybody say anything bad against it. And I
it's
really
French.
I understand, but it's good. I mean, I'm just going to say very stylish European type city, very good food. You can't beat it. You can't beat it, Richard. I'm telling you. And if you want to see a little bit of what Europe is like, head over to Montreal. Yes, the Holy Mountain, or not the Holy Mountain, the King's Mountain, or whatever. Isn't that what Montreal? Yeah, something like that. Don't know.
Huh. So that's and French Canadians must be like even worse because they're always apologizing, you know, for being French.
Well, there is a funny thing about Canadian French. It's not French, in the same way. I mean, there is sort of that difference between speaking Spanish and speaking sort of Hispanic Spanish, or sort of
There's a difference between
South
Spanish and
American.
Mexican.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's sort of difficult. I think that they would have a way to talk, but in certain ways, it would be very sort of difficult in some respects. I would imagine. I mean,
Angie says that Quebec is gorgeous. SoFlo suggests that we talk about the John Lennon murder. Murder? Murder? Mark Chapman performed a public service.
I think that they just want to hear you go on a 15-minute rant about Jodie Foster.
I've already done the Jodie Foster bit. Okay, we're not going back there. The judge
Yeah.
was super specific. I'm not allowed to blame Jodie Foster anymore for the downfall of mankind, even though I proved scientifically that it was her fault.
For old
Can't
Jodie,
talk
I mean,
about it.
for old Jodie, you can't. That's the thing. Mark Chapman, again, sort of an interesting character. He weaves in and out of what could be considered conspiracy theory, and the fact that obviously George Bush Sr. was the vice president for Ronald Reagan, and apparently Mark Chapman's family were hooked into the Texas oil business, and but I'm just saying from that standpoint, uh, if you were he shot President Reagan with a 22 short, which is
What?
basically,
Mark
well,
Chapman.
yeah,
John
the
Hinckley shot Ronald Reagan.
Oh no, that's right. Okay, go Mark
Mark
Chapman. Okay.
Chapman shot John Lennon.
Oh, okay. Whatever. I was going
See,
on a
now we're
totally
now we're
different.
just getting shooters confused. See, this
Yeah,
is
there
why
we
we can't talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin's too unreliable, chat.
I am unreliable witness.
But let's go back to French Canada for a minute, because I've been trying to do this in my head. So, bonjour, eh? How's the boot? We speak in a French accent, eh? See, I can't do it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
eh?
they don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Je m'appelle Kevin.
Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle, eh? Okay. Let's cut it there before we get too racist.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I was just really questioning whether Sasquatch would have le Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, Quebec.
I think that would be the question. How and also how is that from that standpoint you never get? I mean, you've got Bigfoot reported in sort of the Maritimes. Yeah, people in Maine say they see them. People in New Brunswick say they see them. Places like that. Then you go to Quebec, and then no sightings, right? Even though below that you've got New York, and people in New York claim they see it, and yeah, no sightings in French Canada, and then you get across the plains, and then you start seeing them again. So what is it? Why is that? Why? I mean, obviously, I know why you think that is, because French people just don't.
Suck. They
Well,
just suck.
well, no, it's just a question of maybe they don't have the same uh, le finding Bigfoot or whatever.
What was
Yeah, I
that?
don't know.
Le Finding a Bigfoot. That
Yes.
wasn't French.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, you're right. Uh,
We can talk John Hinckley. SoFlo wants to talk about John Hinckley.
Well, you go ahead. You hit with John. To be honest with you, I mean, I remember that. I think I was in 1980. I was in P4 or 5 or something like that in primary. I mean, obviously primary instead of grade 5 or 5th grade or whatever you say P5. Uh, and I don't really remember that much about it. I really don't remember that, other than the fact that then everybody wanted to play Imagine nonstop. That's what I remember about John Lennon being shot. So,
Huh.
I mean, how were you even old enough to remember? You must have been born right whenever he was killed, or shortly before or after.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I remember when Elvis died. I remember that. I know I remember just watching people in America just losing their crap because the king had died. You know what I mean? That
I wasn't
really.
even born when Hinckley shot Reagan.
I mean, yeah, the other one, Chapman, or yeah, Hinckley. Yeah. Well, you see, this is the thing.
Why do you keep bringing us back into Chapman? Chapman's got nothing to do with anything we're talking about currently.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Unless John Hinckley was Mark Chapman.
Exactly, because they let Hinckley out for like weekends and shit. I remember
He
where
was
that was
found
like,
not guilty by reason of insanity, wasn't he?
yeah, but then he had to go to the big nut house. But they do, there were weekends where he could go out and see people. And I remember that was a big friggin' deal. When the first time they suggested that they let him out for to go and go to see his mom and stuff. But the other one. So what was the guy who killed John Lennon? What was his big issue? There must have been something.
But Mark Chapman, he read
Yeah.
Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, okay. So that's one of those Catcher in the Rye sort of J.D. Salinger, Sirhan things. Because
No, he
wasn't
read Catcher in the Rye and then went and shot Mark Chapman.
right, but didn't
John Lennon.
Sirhan also read Catcher in the
Yeah, apparently that book linked to psychotic breaks, but I've read Catcher in the Rye. It's just about some teenage whinge bag
yeah,
complaining about his life problems. I mean,
yeah.
it did make me want to shoot someone, to be fair, when I finished reading it. But
Yeah, because I remember that was like the big conspiracy thing for a long time was, the Catcher in the Rye was triggering people to,
I was definitely triggered.
kill the phonies, as it were. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, the very fact that it was allowed to be published in the first place, and it's a really crap book. Let's be clear here. Let's put cards on the table and let's all gather around for Richie's tale because it's an awful book. But for some reason, for some people, it makes them literally go and kill someone.
right.
Maybe there's subliminal messaging, like it says "kill people" every other word, and people just don't notice.
Yeah, but it's not like a record. Remember back, I mean, maybe you don't remember it. I remember when people were like playing records backwards, you know, to hear the subliminal messages in records. And I guess once we got CDs and tape machines, then we didn't listen to it in reverse. So we don't know what satanic messages they're putting on there. But you see, this was all sort of the whole idea of the time. I mean, to put it in perspective, right? I mean, Dungeons and Dragons was forcing kids to kill people, and records were killing people, and books were killing people. I mean, at that point in time, there was a mass, it seemed like a mass hysteria over records and all these different things, and Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, was in the head of the banning all these different wanting to ban all these records for having messages and all these different things, not necessarily subliminal, but obviously music of the time was ruining kids. you know Rap music had come out, and putting a parental advisory label on a record supposedly was going to stop that from happening. It's the same thing with um, you know video games today. You got these ratings on them, and I mean, I think one time whenever I had an M plus game system in America or whatever, they required me to go in and buy it for my kid or something like that. But most of the time it was like, okay, here's your money, here's your game. All right, have fun, hosing down Nazi zombies or whatever.
Funny story. The only time I've ever been ID'd in my entire life was to buy a video game. Never got ID'd for booze. Never been ID'd for fags. But for video games, I got ID'd for Grand Theft Auto 4 and for Bioshock.
Yeah. True story. I mean, like I said, it was people don't understand that the British folks fought. I don't know. There's still not a national ID. They were
There is in America. You can get an American national ID.
Oh well, yeah, your driver's license is there. But what I'm saying is
no. You can get an American national ID.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, the sovereign citizen movement have some.
Yeah, but that's probably doesn't stick up. You know what I mean?
No. It's not legal or recognized at all, but you can get them.
Right. Well,
Lennon's death was announced on Monday Night Football. Why would they do that to football? If the Cowboys were playing, okay, totally get that. But why would you ruin a perfectly good game of football by saying, "Oh, the king of bloody pretentious narcissistic wank pheasants has been shot. Celebrate." God, I hate that man.
Yeah, but if you look at it from that standpoint, if you've ever watched an American football game, there's plenty of time.
I'm a huge American football fan. I've watched plenty of games.
Well, I'm just saying, then that there's plenty of time to talk about things between setups of the.
Yeah, but why John Lennon? Who cares? He wasn't
he
even
wasn't.
that talented.
The Beatles were massively big, and that's it's a thing. I mean, whether
the Beatles were big, but him by himself now.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, it is
insane Japanese woman and ran off and got shot. That's his legacy.
Well, I mean, I think it was because people either loved him or despised him, just like you. I mean, the minute I
don't despise the Beatles. I like the Beatles. I like Yellow Submarine.
No, I understand, but what you know what I'm saying? I mean, the Beatles went down a track whenever I think Lennon said, "We're bigger than Jesus" or something like that.
That's a misquote, but yeah.
Well, but that's what people think,
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, like I said, I mean, you've got the sort of quote unquote Nixon silent majority who are not going to take this crap, and we're not going to let these long-haired people come in from England and screw up our country. So hopefully, when
you give him anything, any credit at all, but he never actually said that they were bigger than Jesus. Well, I think he did say it, but I think it was in context. Like he was saying that, pop stars today were bigger than Jesus. It was more of satire. He wasn't actually saying that they were bigger than Jesus.
Right. But you're never going to, but you see, that's the thing. There's a lot. I mean, this week I've seen multiple quotes in regards to politics, just taken completely out of context. And at this point in time, it is what it is. If you make something short enough, you can make it sound like somebody is totally for it or totally against something. And move on, and that's your little meme. But that's the thing. That's the thing that I had said to
People are
this.
dickheads. That's what you learned this week.
No,
Well,
no. I mean, what I'm saying is a meme bumper sticker philosophy only goes so far, and you
there,
cannot. You
Gabby
can't.
got it.
Yeah.
Gabby explained that the Beatles album sold more copies than the Bible that year. That's what he was saying. He didn't mean it literally. It's a misquote. But that being said, he was still a wanker. Glad he's dead.
Right.
Oh, and
Well,
SoFlo's ruined American football for me now. Thanks, SoFlo.
why? What
Another
did
one
you
of my
say?
pleasures. Said that John Lennon loved American football. Now I have to hate it.
No, you don't.
I
What if
do.
you said, listen, if the person I hated the most in the world, and I don't even know who that is, I'm sick of it. They like cod and chips. I would not stop eating cod and chips, mate. I'm telling you not.
Then you are a traitor and weak.
Well, that's true. I mean, you know,
A
I guess.
space NG loves it when people type in symbols. Yeah, as well. You weren't typing in symbols last night. Okay, that was the last one. Okay.
Right.
Really? I like George Harrison so far. I really knew how to work the bass or
Yeah.
guitar, whatever he played. He was good.
Well, poor old George, had somebody break into his house to stab him. That's just wrong. You
Probably
know,
Red Catcher in the Rye.
I mean, but that was the thing. For a while there it was the curse of the Beatles. You could think that really, um, that was
That was the curse of the Beatles.
right. Well, anyway, you could make that argument. Anytime something bad happens, you could say it's the curse. It's the curse.
It's the curse.
Yeah.
Get out of bed.
I mean, this is the thing about, say, for example, Tutankhamun. Everybody said it was the King Tut's curse, and that the people involved with the opening of the tomb were all cursed, and they died, and that was the type of thing. I mean, there's perfectly reasonable explanations for it. Um, the only thing that was weird, but I don't know how you would necessarily know this for sure, was that supposedly whenever one of them had a bite from a mosquito, and then it got infected, or a tsetse fly or whatever, and then Lord Carnarvon died, and then supposedly at the same time his dog just got up, and then walked around and did drop dead too. That was the weirdest thing. But I mean, again, how are you going to know that for sure? I mean, this is one of those things where there has to be a little bit of, um, time. I mean, where were they marking the time of his death and saying, "Oh, it happened exactly at this time, and this is exactly the time that the dog flipped over and died." You know, I mean, that's really it. I mean, other than that, I mean, Carter and the rest, that the people involved with it, they they did. Some of them did die, but I mean, remember, this was before really the use of antibiotics and a lot of different things. People in Africa got sick and died. People in Africa get sick and die now all the time. You know, what?
Yeah,
Why?
this isn't a thing that's ended. People
Yeah,
getting sick and dying.
yeah. And so, this is the thing that I think. Um, if you want to make a curse out of something, you can do it. Is what I'm saying. You can, It's, remember that time that everybody came along with this idea that like Lincoln was killed in Ford Theater, and President Kennedy was driving a Lincoln whenever he was assassinated. You know what I mean? All these weird things that supposedly match up. Um, And it's a weird. There's lots of different things where people can put two and two together and make five from that standpoint. And there's nothing wrong with that because, I mean, as you know, Richard, I come from a very, very superstitious and magical people. You know, that's just the way we are. I mean, if we can look for a reason for something to happen that's not necessarily just logical, we're okay with that. Yeah. Are you there, son? Richard. Richard. I don't know if he knows he's not got his mic on. Or maybe he's just looking at the chat. Oh, he just dropped off. That's what it is. Well, anyway, I don't know how that can happen because I'm not the host of this program. But anyway, he'll be back. He'll be back in a second. And then he'll have to explain what it is that he's doing wrong. And maybe A space NG is just reaming him out for telling a secret story about something that happened uh, last night, which apparently was a great story. Uh, but I don't know anything about it. As far as life in the Bigfoot world goes, uh, I don't think there's anything new as far as that goes. Everybody's just arguing with each other about things. This year's Bigfoot thing was basically a nothing, a no, a nothing. I would say I can't even remember. There was a couple of uh, Bigfoot conferences in Washington this year, but very, very scaled down. I think um, there there was just two that I can think of. One in Eastern Washington, one in Western Washington. But I think that's it. A lot of people are hoping to have Bigfoot stuff happen this year. Starting in September. But we'll see how that goes because obviously September is the time that the COVID catches up as summertime is over and people start going into the same rooms, and therefore, it gets a little bit dangerous. So we'll see what happens this 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 year. Maybe his computer just totally crapped on him. Here, let me see if I can go into the chat. I don't usually go into the chat for the reasons I said before, which is that, um, like I said, I don't really read all that well. Whenever, oh, shut up, Kevin. Okay, there we go. That was a while ago. There we go. It's hard for me to shut up. If okay, so it's Jet Sex says I'm an MI6 shill. Well, if I was, uh, then I if I was, I wouldn't admit it. That's for sure, would I? Because you don't admit to things like that. I mean, there's no good thing to say. Um, you know, there's okay. Let's see. Kevin Britton gave us the greatest music in the '60s. I believe that. Flow Entertainment. I would also say that the '80s, arguably the '80s was a good time too. It was interesting that from my perspective, I don't know if you guys know this, I was a DJ for a long time, and when you really look at the music of the time, the '60s were very influenced by the British invasion. The second wave or the new wave music happened in the '80s. Um, I think that if you know if the '70s hadn't happened, um, for if the 70s hadn't happened, because funk really made it big in the 70s, didn't it? I mean, that was the thing that you'd have to say. Obviously, all these things work together, but the 60s invasion, the funk era, and disco came back from Britain. I think it just goes across the waves, back and forth, because in a lot of ways, America and Britain really, uh, just play off each other as far as that goes. I mean, obviously, British speaking peoples or English speaking peoples don't tend to want to listen to music from other languages, which is always interesting to me, because as a person who was DJing in Europe, you could play an English song no problem. But if you ended up playing a German song in Britain, um, forget it. You know, there are exceptions to that. I mean, obviously, Falco, Rock Me Amadeus, it was in German. ATF, after the fire, whenever they did
Oh,
their
hello.
covers. There you go.
Oh, my internet died. Sorry.
That's all right. So everybody, I was just filling air, filling the air, and Jet Sex doesn't like me, but that's okay. He thinks I'm an MI6 shill and the Illuminati, and I should stop talking, but that's all right. Are you back now? He was there for a second. Richard. Richard. Well, I like the fact that Richard is up on the Scottish border. I was talking to him about this today because Ri- uh, my family comes from the Scottish borders, and they were border reavers. There he's gone again. Border reavers were these people who lived in between Scotland and England for about 400 years, and they just did not. They were terrible, bloodthirsty people who just stole from everybody. But it's interesting to see the names of Americans that actually have border reaver uh, bloodlines in them. George Armstrong Custer. Armstrong is a huge border reaver name. Uh, Obviously, Neil Armstrong, another person there that had that heritage. Nixon has family connections to the Scottish border. So, I don't know. Is that good or is it bad? I guess we have a lot to answer for as far as that goes. Let's see where we're at. Oh, let's see. I just got green jello. I don't know what that means. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so Jet Set says he knows what he's talking about. I am Illuminati. I had a problem with Kevin's pick flashing Illuminati. Uh, yeah. Well, as you know, the Illuminati, um, if you really think about it, a lot of people think the Freemasons are Illuminati. They work technically. Obviously, George Washington was a Freemason. Benjamin Franklin was a Freemason. Paul Revere was a Freemason. Um, Samuel Adams most probably was a Freemason. And so, from that standpoint, you can look at it from that standpoint. Well, are the Freemasons infected by the Illuminati? Maybe. But the Bavarian Illuminati movement started because uh, they wouldn't let the guy who started the Illuminati into the Freemasons, and so he got pissed off and he decided that he was going to start the Illuminati. He didn't. He couldn't pay the dues that the Freemasons were asking, so he decided to start this new movement. Um, Obviously, Freemasons do, by prescription in American Freemasonry, have to believe in a higher power. Um, and the exception to any Freemason um, obligation or oath is treason or murder. So you're supposed to keep the secret of your brother Mason as long as they're not plotting treason or murder. And I think that the overthrow of the government would be treason, even in my book. I mean, that would be one of those things where that's it. Now, everybody would also then make the argument that, well, my grandfather, my uncle was a Freemason. This is what people tell me all the time. They just never got high enough. They were never high enough to know how this all went down. But that's just the idea of it's always uh, attainable whenever you have a secret society to make whatever you want to about them. I mean, this is the thing that you will often find that people who have or have a secret society or a closed group, you'll always get stories about what that group is doing. And if you're supposed to be sworn to secrecy, and the reason publicly that Freemasons say that they don't discuss it is because it was supposed to be a place that you could discuss ideas without um, repercussion. In other words, if you discussed an idea and then moved forward into something else, that was just an idea that you could discuss and go from there. I mean, that was one of the reasons about it. That's all I've ever experienced about it. But um, that's one of okay. What else have we got going on here in the chat? Let's see. There's lots of argument there. Let's see. Listen, Kevin is talking about defending and talking about punishments. Well, those are punishments that are what? Are they symbolic? Are they supposed to be actual? I mean, this is the thing that people ask about the questions of that. I mean, as far as that goes, there was a case in Massachusetts, I believe, where one person had left the Masonic Brotherhood and supposedly was killed by fellow Masons. That was never proven, and it was the basis of a huge party called the Know Nothings, and so you can look at it from that standpoint. Whereas Freemasonry used to be large for a long time. It stopped being after that because of the fact that a conspiracy theory was made up against them. So, which is the original conspiracy theory? This is the chicken and the egg argument. Whereas a lot of people uh, have that idea. I mean, but obviously, this is just one of those things that we're gonna have to agree to disagree on. I mean, obviously, Uh, when um, when movies like the National Treasure came, Freemasonry actually went up as far as membership in that group, and so that's it. As time goes on, you're going to have people who go. But the thing about it is, as with everything, right? The minute you say something is bad, you don't realize the effect that it has, right? A lot of people will go towards something because you said it was bad. In other words, don't go to the Freemasons because they're messing with people. So therefore, people join the Freemasons to go ahead and become a person who knows what the Freemasons is all about. I mean, this is all the things. People do things that they want to find out. If they think that UFOs are real, they'll try to get onto Area 51. If people think that, you know, um, vaccines are bad, sometimes that they end up going to anti-vax sites where they get turned around, and think that this is it. So conspiracies lead to conspiracies. And from my standpoint, I look at it like this, you know, um, if you tend to think that the world is terrible, if you tend to think uh, that the world's out to get you, uh, you'll make it so that it is, even if it's not. You know what I mean? The reason that I didn't make it, the reason that I'm sort of a middle-aged guy who didn't become a huge football star or singer or whatever is because somebody held me back, right? That's a common thing. A lot of times people can't understand that those those opportunities are so rare and have sometimes nothing to do with talent that they can't live with the misery of their own life, so it's got to be somebody else's fault. That's very true in my estimation. I've seen very frustrated people blame it on, it's always got to be the society. Society's holding me back. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. And if people want to believe and that makes them feel better, you know, that's what it is. Uh, he says Illuminati is not a conspiracy. Okay, go ahead and prove that, Jet Sex. Go ahead and prove that the Illuminati is not a conspiracy. I'll wait. Life goes on, like I said. So it sounds like Richard is not going to come back. So let me see if I can message him in some other way and see what he's got going on. Okay. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, it's the lizard people. Again, we talked about that before. No, Jet's actually talking about lizard people, or and the way I look at it is, um, again, David Icke's idea of lizard people being the main thing. David Icke's book came out when after the series V, and so a lot of these conspiracies come out uh, after things like that, whereas they'll be in a popular film thing, and so it'll be a film where some idea will be put out into the open about these types of things, and therefore, as we go through, then they become part of the subculture, the conspiracy culture around it. I mean, let's look at it this way. I've been around, well, back before the internet, the only way you could go and get conspiracy theories was to be around people a lot of times at gun shows. And I used to work at different gun shows and I've heard all of it. I remember when George Bush was waiting to bring in the United Nations, right? Because of the he'd said the new world order, and so he'd said new world order that the UN was going to station troops around the United States. Certain areas had been broken up into certain groups where the UN troops were going to come in, and that was that. Now that has progressed on at that point in time to the idea of Operation, for example, Jade Helm. I remember whenever Jade Helm was going to be the thing that took away our rights, and FEMA camps were set up to do all these different things like that. But again, the idea of FEMA camps for people to do that stuff, unfortunately, has merit in some of the ideas, in the fact that um, Japanese people in the Second World War were put in internment camps. And again, nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the fact that you could take a certain amount of race-based Americans and just put them in under lock and key around here. I mean, like I said, somebody was talking about that the other day. The two major state fairgrounds in Western Washington were both used as stagement areas for people to go to um, internment camps in Idaho. And those people were forced out of their stores. They had to sell up very quickly and everything like that. And yet, that's never brought up whenever people are saying, well, they're going to put me into an internment camp. They're going to do this because I'm not vaccinated, or I am vaccinated, or I'm not this, or I'm not that, or whatever. It seems to me like, from that point, if you really were a student of history, that you would think that you would bring it up. But for whatever reason, people don't want to talk about that. It's almost, and I'm not saying this about anybody, but it's almost like some conspiracy theorists don't want to admit that some things have happened in the past to other groups that aren't that. And as people in America, the changing of the demographics of America happens, just like with Northern Ireland, just like everything. Uh, this all seems to come down to a fear of being a minority, right? Whenever somebody else is the minority, fine, let it go. That's it. I can't do anything about it, blah, 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 because it's not happening to me. But the minute that they realize that they are the minority, all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on a minute. Here's the thing. We're not going to let this happen. This is the end of America. This is the end of this. This is the end of that. Well, demographics change. People get bred out for whatever reason. I mean, this is the question that it is. I mean, if you've got a group of people that come into that, and you hope beyond all hope, I suppose, that people don't treat you the way you've treated other people. That's the end all be all argument about it, is that you can only prolong it for so long. But just like, as some people have said, treat others like you. The golden rule says treat others like you would like to be treated. For some reason, in politics in America and in Britain and wherever you go, not the way it goes. Okay, what else do we got going? Let's see. No, I'm not saying it's not cool to be white. I'm not saying that. Uh, that's not my point. Um, if white is a culture, I don't know what that exactly means. From that standpoint, to have lighter skin is a function of where your family spent a lot of the time. But then again, this is the idea of a white culture, and I don't think that exists. I mean, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that Germans feel very German, Irish people feel very Irish, English people, as you can tell whenever Richard and I get into it, sometimes they feel the way they feel about it. French people are predominantly white. And so that's it. Italians are Italians. You've got all these different things into it. So there is no white, quote unquote, culture. Uh, just like there's, it's to say that a person from the west of Africa has got anything to do with somebody from Madagascar. Totally different culture, and so that's it. There is, you know, there's or a Trinidadian or a person from the Afro Caribbean uh, heritage or whatever like that. We've all got something different. What I'm saying is, uh, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying is, yeah. The idea of a black culture, as far as that goes, I don't necessarily believe in it too, because I think, again, if we really think about America, that depends on where you are in America. I mean, obviously, um, foods are different, things like that. I've always said that America is like six nations in one put together. And so you've got a Midwestern sort of culture, you've got a Pacific Northwestern culture, you've got a Southwestern American culture, you've got a sort of Southern uh, Atlantic one and a Northern Atlantic one, and those are just the ones to get to name a few.
All right, all right. Just gonna have to wrap this up. That was ridiculous. Sorry about that, guys. Um, my internet could drop out at any moment. Can you still hear me, Kevin?
I'm hearing you.
Okay.
I
So,
gas bag. I gas bagged for the last few, whatever that was.
well, thank you for carrying the show. Sorry.
I don't know. We probably have a bunch of thumbs down now about the fact that I said there was no white culture and there's probably no black culture. But anyway, that's the way it went.
Ugh, I'm really sorry, guys. Hopefully
He's,
we'll be
he's
back
sorry
next
that you
week.
had to deal with the Irish man.
No, I'm sorry that we weren't able to give you a proper show this week. But
Well,
my
that's
internet
okay.
could drop out at any minute. So,
Hey, you know what, Richard?
hmm.
You have to pay the friggin' bill. Stop doing internet pay as you go, mate.
Yeah,
Get
there
get
is
yourself
that.
get yourself down to the Tesco and get yourself a new top up card.
No, I think it's storms or something.
All right. Well, I wish you all the best, Richard. Have a good week. All the people in the chat, have a
Yeah.
good week.
I don't know what we'll be talking about next week.
Hatshepsut. We never
Oh yeah,
actually got to it.
yeah. We'll actually get to the Egyptian stuff this till next week. Sorry
Right.
about that, guys.
Okay.
Clovis Kevin. Who's Clovis Kevin?
Uh, let's talk about Clovis.
Hmm.
Is that like Clovis man? I don't know. Clovis man. Well, we could talk about that. Yeah. Well, I mean, one day we can talk about Clovis man, and we'll go from there. But we'll talk about Clovis culture, and we'll talk about Kennewick man, and we'll talk about whether people from uh, whether people could have come from other locations, and maybe even Cherokees came from other locations. I mean,
You want to talk about the Moors?
Moors.
Hmm. People that came from other locations.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We don't know. I mean, that's you know, like I said, uh, Spanish culture is and Italian culture is very, very influenced by the Moors and as Islamic areas, and so is Turkey and places over there. But what I'm saying is you know, there's no real way of knowing everything. I mean, they don't
Hmm.
even know where redheaded people come from.
The not dear Jet Sex, my favorite cryptid ever.
I'm surprised you didn't call me not the Illuminati, dear. You're not talking about the Illuminati, are you, dear? He's convinced I'm a secret Illuminati and I'm a shill, Richard. You just put me on the show just so I can come on here and spite all these different things about what people are supposed to and not supposed to do, which is interesting because I don't really remember telling anybody to do. But anyway,
Anyway,
we'll pick it up next week.
we will. We will return
All
next week, despite the hopes of many.
Yep. And then,
hopefully, I'll be able to hang out for the entire show. Who knows?
well, that would be good. And try to deal with your storms, and maybe there'll be other people that are on there. And if I'm going to tell people to do anything, that's to have a good week this week and be kind to each other. There you go. If I've got an influence on people, just be nice to each other.
Yep. Be cool to each other. Party on, dudes. Kevin, hello?
I'm still here, mate.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for you to hit that button and end it.
Night all.